And I know he has a short time to give his presentation, but it really doesn't do full justice to the richness of his project. His project is titled The Meaning of the Collar and Celibacy in the Life of a Catholic Priest.
We're good? Good afternoon. So Dr. Trigger just summed up my the project name. My question. So when I went to try to find this research project, I was trying to figure out what I was going to ask. The big question was, how does the celibacy and the uniform affect a Roman Catholic priest? So how does that make them view themselves? How does that make them interact with others, and how others interact with them? And then I was like, well, there's two different kind of priests. So how does the Roman Catholic diocesan priests are affected differently by religious orders priests? So now what does it mean to take an anthropological approach? Well, the type of research that I'm doing. So the type of research was really personal, interactive with the participants that I got to meet. We got to meet on a really personal level. It was a great experience with them. The EMIC is referencing to their point of view. So I'm taking their point of view and applying theories to explain that. So now, who am I? So the question was, to get to this point was, in high school, I actually felt like I was being called to be a Catholic priest. So this was kind of gave me the ability to connect with these priests, gave me the ability to ask these hard questions that we had to ask. So now just some quick facts to get to understand my project. So the vow versus promise. The diocesan priest takes a promise. They actually take a promise every single year. It's actually happening next week. The promise that I'm looking at was the promise of celibacy. The vow. So the religious order priest takes a vow one time. They take 3 different vows: the chastity, obedience, and poverty. Now, for celibacy, in 1139, the Pope decided that all diocesan priests are mandated to be celibate. Religious orders always had that because it was part of their monastic life. The uniforms. In 1829, the Council of Baltimore declared that all diocesan priests are mandated to wear some kind of uniform to have them identified as a Catholic priest. In the religious orders, they always had some kind of uniform to identify them to their group. So now I want to talk about my fieldwork. So my methods. So for this research, I did a strict protocol of confidentiality. This was important for me. This was important for my participants. I felt like it was necessary to keep their identities sealed at all times. So I created a code system where their names are not anywhere in my notes, their names are nowhere into any of my papers or anything. It's to keep their identified sealed. So I designed a 5-step interview process, where the first one was just an intake interview, was just to get to know each other and sort of build that relationship. And then the stage 2 was all about uniforms, to see how those are interacting with each other. And then I got to hang out with a couple of them to see their real life, how they interact with each other and whatnot. Stage 4 was about celibacy. And then stage 5 was that sum up to make sure if I had any more questions, if they had any more questions, to make we are all comfortable with all the data I received. So I unfortunately had a very small sample of 9 participants. But with this small sample, I had a really diverse sample, which was awesome. I had all the way from 30s all the way to 80s. It was a diverse, awesome sample that I got to meet. I had 4 diocesan priests and 5 religious order priests, which are pretty awesome. So now I'm taking these 3 concepts to really explain the identity of the priesthood. Durkheim's sacred and profane, Turner's social skin, and then my concept of inside and outside forces. So the first part of the presentation, I really want to answer this question: what is the priesthood? What does it do? So we're going to apply to Durkheim's idea of the sacred versus the profane. The sacred is a set apart person or thing or place where there's different behaviors, different rules, and different social norms for this person. Just a couple stories. So we actually assert the priests into this separate group. They do not put themselves in this separate group. A lot of them describe they don't want to be separate, but because of the lay people, we put them into this separate group. And there's some funny stories that they were laughing while they were telling me these stories, that people forget that they are human. So they're going to the grocery store, and they have their people come up to them and go, "Oh, Father, you eat? Oh, Father, you do your own shopping?" Like, we forget they are human. They are in that sacred part. They're in that separate social group that people forget. And then another funny story he was laughing about too was he was cutting down a tree, helping his maintenance guy, and later that Sunday, so many prisoners came up to him and goes, "I didn't know a father could cut down a tree." Yeah, I'm a human. I can do what you can do too. We forget they are human. So, as I was talking about, we're putting them into this separate group, this social group, this outside force that I've been trying to describe. This outside force is anything beyond himself. Turner actually saw this also in his research. In his native group that he was researching, he found that their people would put different hairstyles, different clothing to assert their identity and their status within the identity thing. So for the Roman Catholic priest, this is that. This collar is magical for them. This is what they assert their identity to. So for them, they were talking about the priesthood. People pull the priesthood out of them. It's that force that people are putting them into this social group. And then he said, as I'm wearing this in public, I am playing the public role as a priest, which we will talk about later on in the presentation. And then this outward symbol. If he's not wearing this, he just blends in, walks through the store, no questions asked. But when he wears this, people stop him, people will look at him differently. He actually said, "I am outwardly representing God. I am outwardly representing the church." So now switching forces, now we're talking about within himself. What does this collar, what does this priesthood do for himself? We're hearing that the priesthood is an identity, it's a way of life, it's a vocation, it's part of who he is. One of them actually was awesomely said, "I am Father with or without the collar." How powerful is that? And then the other one saying it's part of my life, like I keep on trying to say, it's really part of their identity. A lot of them are ongoing talking about this. The whole entire stage 2, they've all been talking about this. And then one of them said, I'm often out of my uniform, but I'm never off. So on my other side, what does celibacy do for these people? This is a whole different thing that most of us do not understand. So there's 2 concepts that they talked about severely throughout their interviews of loss, but then that loss becomes freedom for these people. It's a really powerful thing, and I was stunned when the people were telling me freedom. I was like, what are you talking about? So the first thing is the sacrifice of the family. Unfortunately, because of being celibate, you're not able to have relationships with another person. So all of them talked about having a family at one point in their life. They wanted a family. They've been having that feeling. But one of them did say, "I do miss having that relationship with someone else." But one of them was like, "Yeah, but there's a positive to this. If you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else." So being celibate is saying no to having an intimate relationship with a person. But loneliness. So because of this, they felt lonely, unfortunately. And they've all dealt with it differently. They've all handled it differently. Some of them have felt lonelier than others. It's all moments for a lot of them. If you read this last quote, I thought the ending of the quote was really powerful to explain this whole entire thing of sacrificing family. They said, "I felt lonely, or felt like there was just this longing to share my life with someone." How powerful is that? Sometimes just wants to share his life with someone. They have friends, and which is another topic that I wish I could talk about celibacy. Now, loss of vows. So one of my diocesan priests was really describing to me how throughout the vows of life, the vows involved within the person. These are not set ages, these are set stages. He found that throughout talking to his friends as a priest that they involve. So the first one, hormones, and they're raising. They're like, what do you mean I can't have sex? Like, they're trying to figure that out, the first part. And then it goes into they just miss someone. And then it goes into it hurts to not to see a mini or a child of their own. As I've been talking about, this age really affects them. So they're talking about it becomes a function. They see it as a function of freeing them, not attaching to a certain place or family. They can serve the people of all. And then it transfers into the ability to love everyone. Because they're not loving one person, they can love all, which they found very powerful and very inspiring. One of my religious orders priests actually talked about celibacy is harder first, and then it's poverty, and then it's obedience. You know, due to their relationships, they found that this is hard also. So freedom, this was inspiring. I thought it was crazy that they were telling me about this, that something that is restrictive is actually bringing them freedom to their lives. So this quote on top, he was describing how if the vow feels like you don't feel the vows, the God's loving the vows, they're dead weights, they're hard to deal with. But if you feel the love, they're positive things. And he ends it with, they're not punishments. We're not trying to give up something. We're trying to gain something. So they're freeing from them. This is a lot of from the religious orders ideas. They're not attached to any material goods. They don't have to buy a car. They don't have to worry about that electric bill. The order provides for them. They give themselves to the order. They provide for them, which is a very awesome idea. They don't have to find a sexual partner. This is not part of them. They can serve everyone. They don't have to worry about their day-to-day, the small day-to-day issues, because the order provides for them. They are able to worry about the larger issues, be able to serve us as people. They're not, and like I said, they're not attached to a certain place or thing. They're able to move in a given moment. They're able to help us at all moments. And then one of them actually flipped it and said, well, it's freeing for us. It's freeing for us as society. Well, when we go into talk to a priest, they're not looking for anything more than us. They're looking to serve us. So the husband doesn't have to be jealous. The wife doesn't have to be scared of anything. They're there to serve the people. So for my conclusion, so as I talk about a lot of their point of view and some of mine, they felt like the priesthood is an identity, is a lifestyle, is a vocation. Very important for them. Both felt like they're called, this is a calling from God. They have a divine inspiration for them. There's vocation. They feel like wearing this is a responsible, is a symbol of the church. This is very important for them. And they have to provide that symbol in a positive way, especially in the times we are right now. And as I just talked about in the last couple slides, it's free. These vows are free for them. And for me, as I talked about, there's the wearing of the collar, there's social group. We're putting them in a social group. The collar is the outward symbol. They are separate away from the world. They're playing that public role as a priest. They have to perform to act as a priest. It's not like they change behind closed doors, but they have to make sure that they're behaving correctly according to the church at all times. Now, other thoughts, due to the recent sex scandal, my study was actually, I was approved by the IRB 6 days after that Pennsylvania report came out. So this study completely was involved with recently of that sex scandal. Due to time, I wasn't able to put any of this information in it, but they felt it, they were affected by it, I was affected by it. It was terrible, I have to say that. There's also way more information I wish I could have shared, but because of time, I wasn't able to add it into my presentation. I want to say thank you to Dr. Tooker for helping me guide me through this project, and Dr. Kettering, who was unable to be here, who helped me through this project, and then McDivitt Summer Research Grant gave me